The cost of groceries in America is out of control, and a new report says the prices can no longer be blamed on inflation or supply chain issues. It's all due to corporate greed. Grocery store chains use the pandemic to raise prices on everything, and those higher prices are here to stay. Now, what's so interesting about this, when I was reading the story, I thought about you, because you were doing some of the first stories I remember when we were saying these prices go crazy, where you said, this is here to stay. They've used the pandemic as this big fraud, and they're here to stay. Pick the story up from me, because you were early on in this story. I remember that.
Yeah, you know, and listen, we had that period of super high inflation when we had the supply chain issues. So yeah, that was market trying to fix itself, and it never does a good job of it. And while that happens, while inflation hits 10% on prices, the corporations come in and say, okay, well, we got to raise them 10%, but what if we raise them 20%? Because eventually that first 10% from inflation does go away, but that second 10% never does. That becomes the new base price. So the corporations that do this, their profits are already up that 10% on every good. But consumers think, oh, well, the price came down because it was $3 last week, but now it's $2.70. Well, it should be $2. You're getting screwed out of that extra 70 cents.
They learned from the healthcare story, didn't they?
Yep.
They learned from the healthcare story. And now we're seeing grocery prices 5 times the inflation rate, where you've got families that are working 2 or 3 jobs. And you know, the White House could do something about it. You can have price control mandates. But the economists are saying it's basically it is some activity by the corporations, but we have an inflation problem that's here to stay, period, until something dramatic happens. Add this greed. I don't know how people even buy eggs and milk anymore.
If it were just inflation, that would be difficult enough, but it would be manageable to a degree. With that price gouging that's coming on top of that, as you said, is far more than inflation could ever dream of being. That's what's really killing these people, because we know these grocery store CEOs, every year they're pocketing tens of millions of dollars because we're doing such a good job of making sure this single mother can't feed her kids because we're stealing extra money from her for her eggs and milk.
How about the argument where you hear them, well, if we can get bigger, okay? If Walmart or whoever, if we can just get bigger and more of a conglomerate, we can pass the savings on to you. That story, you hear that all the time? Yeah. It's nonsense. It's just ridiculous. It sounds good. Yeah, they get bigger. Gee, I guess the economy of scale, they can give us better prices, right? It's just the opposite is taking place.
Well, it used to be, you had typically in a state, you would have your grocery stores that you wouldn't see in any other state. Publix originally was only a Florida thing. Now it's all over the country. Same thing with Kroger's or Albertsons, which I think those two have now merged. Right. You used to have your Winn-Dixies and your Food Worlds and all these options, and slowly they've all been consolidated. So that's all you see. It's homogenous across huge swaths of the country because we don't have your little local grocers anymore, or maybe a grocery that owns 2 or 3 stores in the state. They have been snatched up by the Walmarts and your Krogers and all these folks.
Yeah.
That it had helped dirty money flow through its branches around the world, including at least 800...
Plaintiffs allege that the defendants provided money and medical goods to terrorist groups Hezbollah and Jaish al-Mahdi.
This is a well-organized business for these individuals that carry out these attacks. Terrorism is a business, and they run it like a business.
They knew about what was going on for a decade. They absolutely, no question about it, knew that HSBC was washing money. They had every reason to understand it was for terrorism and it was for drug cartels. Took no action whatsoever.
These banks are involved. Their accounts are connected, and they're using them to mask the transactions. The more complicated they can make the transactions, the more distance they can put between the bad guys and a seemingly legitimate purpose of these funds.
They pay $1.9 billion, which is a drop in the bucket compared to what they've made, and nobody goes to prison. These CEOs, these bankers that made this decision, they're safe at home. They know what they've done. It's resulted in the death of Americans, contractors and soldiers, not just hundreds, but thousands. And we look the other way because they don't look like criminals. The die is cast. The people that are responsible are on Wall Street.
And they don't look like criminals. It's almost a suspension of disbelief. Sometimes I'll have people call me and say, is this real? Do they really get away with this? Yeah, they do.